So on this video, what I want to do is I actually want to hear from two former witches about Halloween and what they think about it, what their take is on it. And hopefully this can help some of us to really understand what that night means and what's the big deal about it. So here we go.
Talk about it. But I was delivered from witchcraft, where I was a practicing witch. And so God radically saved me. He set my whole life on fire with the Holy Ghost.
Okay, so you see right here, this is a former witch who at one time was just all in it, and I'm going to play some of that, but she has been delivered from that and is now speaking out about it all over the place. I want to read this verse out of Ephesians 5, verse 11. It says this: "Take no part in the worthless deeds of evil and darkness. Instead, expose them." So again, take no part in the worthless deeds of evil and darkness. Instead, expose them. And that is exactly what I am doing today. That is what she is doing. That's what the other witch, former witch, is doing. And I just really hope that you can watch this and learn something from it. And I'll put the link in the description for you guys to be able to watch this on your own as well. So here you go.
You truth. And I'm going to expose the devil. I'm going to give you a short version of my testimony. I was brought up in a Christian home. And when I became a teenager, I went to a friend's house and I watched the movie The Craft. The Craft was a movie made in 1996. And it was about
I don't know if you've seen that movie, The Craft, but that was a really hot movie back in the day. Look what she talks about exposing herself to some of these things and how the enemy used it.
4 witches who were in high school, and the witches all connected together, these 4 high school girls, and they went out in the woods and they began to practice witchcraft and spells and seances. And they were doing it. It was fun for them. And it was very innocent looking at first. And then all of a sudden, one thing led to another, and they began to get into the deep darkness of witchcraft. They began to open themselves up to the demonic realm, and things began to happen. And the girls that were in it, all of a sudden, the movie made it seem like they wish they'd never gotten into it. And the stumps even tried to detach themselves from this band of witches, and they couldn't even get out of it. And so that's the movie that I watched. And everything that was going on in my life, I wanted to kill myself. I was suicidal. I began to cut my wrist almost every single day. I was bullied. I was in.
Okay, so let's just stop right there again. She's watched this movie, started really investing into that movie, and then her life started to spiral out of control.
Abusive family. We were poor, all the things. I saw the movie. And even though I knew the truth of the gospel, I looked at the movie and witchcraft as a place and a source for power and control.
So the family she grew up in was a Christian family, grew up with Christian parents. And just check this out. I know, man, sometimes we can think, oh, this is just made up. These things aren't real. Man, I'm just living my life out here, doing all the things in your flesh, and we hear stories of spiritual things, or we watch movies and we think, man, that could never happen. It's very real. It's very real. I've experienced quite a few things. Maybe sometime in this video, I'll let you some things that spiritually happened to me as a child with different sacrifices and ritualistic abuse. But check out what she's about to say.
Homeless for a period of time. I moved in with a young lady and her whole family, the bloodline, they were witches. She was a witch. Her mother was a witch. Great grandmother, all the way back. I moved in with her, and that is just like in the movie, where all of a sudden the innocent.
Here, this is crazy.
I really knew nothing about. And I remember going up to a drawer. I said, as soon as I was just talking, it's in this drawer right here. Before my hand touched the drawer, about this close, the drawer itself went and opened. And it was one of those old drawers where when you open it, kind of tilted down, and the drawer tilted down, and it scared me to my core.
Yeah, that would freak me out too. Again, she's living with these witches. She's learning all the things, grew up in a Christian family, watched the movie, and now some pretty crazy things are happening. Check this out.
Halloween. And so as a practicing witch.
Okay, now she's going to get into the Halloween. Here we go.
Halloween was one of the holidays, and still is to this day, you all, that witches look forward to like Christians, look forward to resurrections.
Boom. Halloween is one of the holidays that witches and the evil look forward to, just like Christians look forward to Resurrection Sunday, Easter, Christmas. This is their holiday that they look forward to.
Sunday and or Christmas. It is a holiday where witches on October 31st of this year are going to be at high alert.
Okay. I don't need to replay that. You can go back and watch it if you want to. Again, former witch, and you can look up on YouTube. You can research it. All these former witches, both men and women, who were at one time in the demonic world and doing those things. And what they say about Halloween is the same. I'm going to play another one here in a minute that talks about Halloween so you can see what the power of what they're saying, because they have actually lived it. And so this isn't me just trying to be like, oh, I'm just a super Christian and all the things. No, this is me trying to, like it says in Ephesians 5:11, to expose the truth, expose the truth. So let me go to another spot here.
Particularly the god of death, they would summons this god of death this particular night, where again, the veil was supposed to be very thin on this day, crossing over from summer into the next season, that the veil was thin on that one particular day, and that the god of death could summons those that had died. And those people that had died the people that were alive would want to summons up the dead to arise out of their graves and to come and roam through the earth in case they needed to get vengeance, in case they wanted to do whatever.
So she's talking about the origins of Halloween right here. Like, where did this all start? Where did it all start?
They began to mingle and wanted to converse and have fellowship with the dead. Now, I don't know what Bible y'all read.
Again, just listen. And there's a lot of people who are like, I'm not going to listen. I don't care. We're going to celebrate Halloween because that's what we do. And look, no shame. That's okay. Whatever you want for you. But for us, we have decided, because of how awful it truly is, and that we don't want to celebrate evil. That's just not what we're going to do in our family, period. And Michael, are your kids missing out? Not at all. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. What about your kids? I'm going to talk about that.
That you know exactly what you are connected to. You can't separate the connection to the origins of it. You cannot. I don't care how many people tell you you can. You can't. So when they would begin to dress up in costumes, it is because they began to see spirit of the dead people roaming around the city. And so what they would do is they would dress up like goblins and ghosts so that the spirits wouldn't recognize them as a human. It would think that they were also a spirit and would pass them by. So costumes, you put your kids in costumes and all of that, that's the origin of it. So you could blend in with dead spirits, really demons that were roaming the earth. Now I'm going to get into because we know that the Catholics came in and the Protestants came in. There's been a lot of mixture and changing of that original holiday from the Celtic tradition. But they came in and they didn't like that they were calling up dead and all.
So the other religions, the other churches, the Catholics started to be like, look, we don't want to do that. That's not why we're dressing up. We're dressing up because whatever. And they started dressing up like the saints, the dead saints. So check this out.
All that. So they said, if you're going to dress up, when they came in to reform things, they said, well, why don't you dress up as the saint? You can dress up as the saints, and we will celebrate it as All Saints Day. And so again, even when the church got involved and tried to reform it, they were still celebrating the dead. Come on, somebody. When you are participating in Halloween, I just want you to know what you are aligning with. And so that's what happened.
They tried to make it great, the churches, by dressing up like the saints who are dead. So still playing with things that are dead, bringing up things that are dead, walking around in these costumes that are dead, and we're not supposed to be doing that. We're just not. You're like, Michael, I'm dressing up as SpongeBob SquarePants. Look, I get it. And I've done it. Look, I did Halloween for years. This is, I don't know when you're watching this video, this is October 2024, and we stopped doing Halloween on October 31st 2023. So this will be our second year not celebrating or doing anything for Halloween.
Turnips and gourds and pumpkins back in the day. And what they would do.
So now she wants to talk about pumpkins, and she just got done saying like how amazing fall is. She goes to pumpkin patches and it's very beautiful and all the things, but she's explaining the history now of the jack-o'-lantern.
Is they would cut out a scary face in it and they would put a candle in it so it would look like, a face, scary face. So that when these roaming spirits, who were all supposed to be throughout the town, would come to their house, that this face would scare off the spirit, so that the jack-o'-lantern then had some sort of power to cause these demons to go into another place. And so again, it's connected to a demonic belief, a doctrine of demons. Come on. I don't know about you, but I'm not putting my full in a jack-o'-lantern. It does not get rid of demons. It opens up doors to demons. Jack-o'-lanterns. Cutting out and carving of the pumpkin, putting the light in it to scare off demons. Trick or treat is also connected to this.
Okay, so many of you are like, Michael, stop. Like it's just a pumpkin. Like we're cutting a pumpkin. It's our tradition. It's what we do. And you may be thinking, man, it's not a big deal. I hear you. And why? What's the point? Because the culture's doing it? Because everybody else does it? Because it's been a tradition? You have the power to change traditions, and you have the power as a parent to stop doing what everybody else is doing. Like, you have that power. The problem is that there's too many people that aren't willing to do that because change is hard and they don't want to upset people. But the truth is there's a spiritual battle going on. And we are not supposed to look like the world. You're not. And this doesn't look like the world. People have, man, because I'm not for Halloween, how many people will call me names and think all this stuff, and I really don't care. Here's what I know is I don't look like the world at all in this area. Now, I battle and I do things all the time, and I'm not perfect, but this is an area for sure that we don't look like the world.
Celtic Day of the Dead, where they celebrated the god of death and summoned up spirits from out of the graves, which is not spirits from out of the graves, it's demons. And so what they would do is the trick or the treat is they would, during this time, there was a lot of crime and mischief that began to happen with the people in the town. And so the young people were going around and there was a lot of just terrible things that began to happen. And so what the townspeople did is they knew that, the people were going to be, these troublemakers were going to be dressing up, looking like the floating spirits. And so they didn't want trouble to come to their house. And so what they would do is they would put out on their porch a treat. Some sort of treat. So when these young people came, they would get the treat and they would leave their property safe. They would leave their house and move on to the next one. So I'm trying to connect all of these things for you so that you can see that although the world and the devil wants you to think that's so innocent, it's not a big deal. What's the big deal? You can say, what's the big deal until you are blue in the face, but you cannot hide the fact of the origins of Halloween and the dark truth of Halloween. You cannot hide the fact that on Halloween, you can go look this up or ask any police officer in your town. On Halloween, there is an extremely high level, unlike any other night, of kidnappings, people going missing, murders occur, sacrifices happen on that night. And so even though while I was practicing witchcraft, and I'm going to tell you a story, that one thing that I remember doing on Halloween, but even though I wasn't doing sacrifices and I didn't go that far, I didn't go into that dark realm, there are witches and Satan worshipers out there and people that are completely tormented by demons that are doing these things. And that's a fact. That is an absolute fact. You can look up testimonies of people that have come out of the occult world and they will tell you some of the horrific things. I've heard them. I have talked to people face to face and counseled and prayed and done deliverance.
Okay, so what she's continuing to say is how awful that night is, and it can be. And just think about, why do we do it? To go get candy? Like, you give your kid candy all year long, but on this night, we're going to go door to door and knock on someone's door, and hopefully they're going to give our kids candy in a bag, when all year long we never go to our neighbor's door ever for anything, but we're going to send our kids to their doors. And what else happens on that night is our kids start seeing things, and it's scary. I remember our first time we went trick-or-treating with Emmy, our oldest, and she was very young, and she saw this like clown face, and it scared her so bad. She screamed, and what did we do? Oh, it's okay, not a big deal. And now looking back at that, I was just desensitizing her to all the things of evil to make it not a big deal. And we do that all the time, so much so where we start watching these shows and we start listening to things that just are evil.
When I was in the house with this young lady who was a witch on this holiday, we saved up. We saved up so that we could go all out for Halloween. Costumes, which my costumes were really barely anything on because the spirit of perversion had completely taken over my life. And I remember being in a circle in her room. I went into her room.
Okay. So they would save up everything for this one night on Halloween. And again, they're like, man, my kids, I just don't want to disappoint my kids. This is what we've always done. They're going to be really upset. One day out of the year that you're going to upset your kids, who really cares? You're the parent. You're the parent. And you're a Christian parent. And this is a great opportunity to teach your kids, man, we're just not going to do this. Why? And it doesn't really align with what we believe. So we're not going to give out candy. We're not going to do any of that stuff. So if you want some candy, we can go up here to the gas station. I can pick out some candy and I'll give you some candy. But besides that, we're just not gonna celebrate. We're just not gonna do it. We're gonna save our money. We're gonna save our time, and man, we're just not going to celebrate. I think also, let's just say you get to have a conversation with Jesus. What would that conversation be like? I just, again, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're like, Michael, you're too much. But if you met with Jesus, he would say, it's okay. Go and celebrate this holiday. Go and celebrate it. I just don't think that would happen. And I think that there's a lot of Christians that were being rocked to sleep with this holiday. And it starts really early in October. It starts early and before October. Things are already getting put out and scary monsters and all these things. And even in the schools, like I'm hearing that my kids are saying like, yeah, you can go pick your potion at school. Like, what are we doing? Like, why? Here's why. Because people don't know. And I'm hoping that this video, that the few people that will watch this will actually wake up, and this will wake up your spirit to not take part in Halloween anymore. And if it just affects one person, praise the Lord. Because I also want to think about this, like when you're watching scary movies, or even like when you're watching football, though I watch football with my family at night, and then the commercials come on, and what comes on, these scary, awful, evil sounds and images, and we're like, turn it off. And it's bad. Why? Because we don't want to allow those things into us. Michael, that can't happen. It can happen. Entertainment. What are you being entertained by? Notice the beginning of that word is enter. The things that you watch, the things that you listen to, enter somehow. Why, when you go to church and you're at a worship service and things are amazing, you're like, that was so good. Yes. And then you listen to some song that brings you back to wherever, and it wasn't that good of a time for you back in the day because you were entertained by that and it did something to your spirit. This is very spiritual. Which are you going to feed? Are you going to feed your flesh, or are you going to feed your spirit? And when you feed your spirit, what side are you feeding? Michael, and there's a lot of people that are saying, we're trying to redeem it. We want to redeem Halloween. And so we're going to do all these things. We're going to have a trunk or treat. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to dress up like angels and Jesus, and we're going to redeem Halloween. I want you to, okay, that's okay. So I don't know if you know what a Ouija board is. I used to use a Ouija board when I was a child because I grew up in a very ritualistic family who did satanic things and very bad, which I've never talked about publicly, and I'm not really going to now. But there was a lot of things that happened to me. I saw sacrifices, I saw animals, I saw a lot of awful things. And one of those things was a Ouija board. And you use a Ouija board, and it's just a game. No, it's not just a game. You're actually communicating with the dead. And it is very real, so real. I have so many stories about a Ouija board. And so with a Ouija board, would you be able to use it to talk to God with it? Can you use a Ouija board and talk to our Lord Jesus Christ with it? The answer is no, you can't. You can't. And so we can't redeem. Look, God can do anything. Okay, I get that. I'm not putting him in a box. But the truth is, its origins are very evil. And why would you want to play with a Ouija board to talk to God when you don't need any of that stuff to talk to him? You can just have a conversation. So I want to show you one more witch former witch. So here is another witch. It's really great. 25 minutes. I encourage you to watch it, but check out what she says about Halloween.
And it's all lovely, but you're part of a ceremony of dark magic. And that's the truth.
I love her accent. It's so awesome.
There is so much evil in this world. And on Halloween night, we can't just pretend like it's all fun and games, because it's not. You know, so the Lord was speaking to me today a lot about your will, your free will. And I remember when I was being trained by some witches who were hedge witches, and they were also Reiki practitioners, energy healers, as well as shamans and ayahuasca. They did ayahuasca ceremonies and did energy healing during those ceremonies. They were many things. And I came under them, and they started teaching me more and opening me up more to more. Yeah, you know. And one time when they were doing Reiki on me, and I was learning to read auras, and they said that they saw my spirit guide. They described it exactly how I knew my spirit guides to look like. And they said to me, they're here telling me that I need to help align your chakra about free will. They want to help you activate completely your own free will to them. I was so deceived. And I was like, great, working on that area of my chakras and doing mantras and different things to align with what now I know as demons. So the Lord put it into my remembrance today about it being about my free will. That's what they were after. They were after my total and utter will. My will. There is power in our will, in man's free will. God's given us free will. Do we align our will with the devil, or do we align our will with God? And whoever we align with is who will use us. You know how the Lord is such a gentleman. The Lord is just so beautiful. He will never force himself on anyone. No, that is not our Lord.
So good. He is a gentleman. He will never force himself on us. What's the opposite?
He waits for you at the door, for you to knock, and he opens. What does the devil do? The devil is persistently at your door knocking, knocking, knocking. Oh, maybe this person at the door is okay. Maybe they're dressed nice. They're dressed as an angel. Maybe I'll open the door to them. No. See, this whole thing is a mockery. You have children who the devil is trying to claim.
So there you go. Now, I could keep showing over and over again. And my prayer is that one person will watch this. One person will see this and will realize, man, we're just not going to do that. We're out. Last year, I had one family that said, man, we're not going to do that. We actually went to dinner with them last year on Halloween night and just prayed, and it was awesome. It was really good. And so, again, I hope this just opens your eyes. I hope this gives you some more clarity to maybe something that you've been pushing away and something that you don't want to hear, because that's what we do sometimes. We don't, when we feel like maybe we're being convicted, or we feel like we don't want to change the way, we just don't listen to it. So we push it aside. But I hope that this isn't the case. And man, if I can help you in any way, my name is Michael Head. I would love to just to get to know you. If you have any questions, you can find a link in my description to meet with me one-on-one and to see how I can work with you. Also, if you would like some free people merch, we've got coffee cups and sweatshirts, and I'll put a link to that as well. So I hope that you have a great rest of your day.